It's the story no one saw coming. For decades, Bonnie Raitt has been known as the red-haired queen of blues, the voice that could break your heart and heal it in the same verse. But now at 74, she's speaking out in a way she never has before. And what she's revealing about the dark side of the 1970s music scene has left everyone absolutely stunned. Because behind the glitter, fame, and rock and roll freedom, there was something much darker. A culture that celebrated excess, blurred consent, and turned womanizing into an Olympic sport. And Bonnie, who lived through it all, says it's time the truth was told. She called it the Womanizer Hall of Shame, and in it were some of the biggest names in rock history. Back in the 1970s, Bonnie Raitt wasn't just another voice trying to be heard. She was a force of nature, a blues guitarist with fire in her soul and rebellion in her veins. While others sang about love, Bonnie sang about survival, heartbreak, and the price women paid for simply existing in a man's world. The industry adored her talent, but it wasn't built for women like her. It was built by powerful men, producers, singers, and rock icons who treated fame like a free pass for bad behavior. Bonnie watched it all from the inside. She saw how young female artists were promised fame in exchange for silence. She saw the hotel rooms, the after parties, the manipulation hiding behind record deals and backstage passes. And she saw careers destroyed because women dared to say no. In recent interviews, Bonnie didn't name names directly, but the hints were enough to shake the industry. She spoke about the men who could buy silence with a song and the legends whose charm hid cruelty. The truth is, the 70s music scene was intoxicating and toxic. It was an era when stars like Mick Jagger, Jimmy Page, and even Elvis Presley were untouchable. Women were labeled groupies, as if that single word erased their humanity. But Bonnie Raitt never played that game. She refused to be anyone's accessory. She was the girl with the guitar, not a smile in the background. And she admits it came at a cost. Bonnie said, "There were times I couldn't get airplay, not because of my songs, but because I didn't flirt back." That's how the system worked. If you weren't willing to play along, you were left behind. She described how some of the biggest male artists, the ones celebrated as geniuses, would prey on newcomers. Women were treated like currency, traded through fame, and forgotten once the spotlight dimmed. And while many of those names are still worshipped today, Bonnie wants people to know the truth, that the cost of that golden age of music was often women's dignity. Bonnie Raitt wasn't just a survivor. She became a symbol of integrity in an era that had very little of it. While others lost themselves in fame and addiction, she built her legacy on raw truth. But even she wasn't immune to the heartbreak that came with it. She battled her own demons, alcohol, loneliness, and the pressure to compete in a man's world. By the mid-1980s, her career almost vanished. The woman who once electrified the stage found herself rejected by the very industry she helped shape. But she came back, and when she did, she came back stronger than ever. With her 1989 album, Nick of Time, Bonnie Raitt reminded the world that real power isn't about manipulation or charm. It's about honesty. That album wasn't just music, it was a statement. It won her 4 Grammys, revived her career, and reclaimed her voice. And now, decades later, that same voice is calling out the truth. The stories buried under decades of silence. She said, "We all love the music, but we can't pretend not to know the pain behind it." Today, when Bonnie looks back on those years, she doesn't do it with bitterness, but with brutal honesty. She acknowledges that not every man was guilty, but too many were protected, and too many women were silenced. The Womanizer Hall of Shame, as she called it, isn't just about individuals. It's about an entire culture that glamorized exploitation. It's about how success was often built on someone else's suffering. And her message now is clear. It's time the music world stops romanticizing the men who used women as stepping stones to greatness. Bonnie Raitt's courage to speak out after all these years isn't about revenge. It's about remembrance. For the countless women whose names we'll never know, whose stories were never told, and whose pain was dismissed as part of the rock lifestyle. She once said in an interview, "I survived that era because I never stopped seeing myself as an artist first, not an ornament." And that's why her words today hit so hard. Because she's not just talking about the past, she's warning the future. Bonnie Raitt's revelation has left fans stunned, legends nervous, and the industry reflecting on its darkest decade. It reminds us that behind every song that changed the world, there might be a story the world was never ready to hear. In the end, the 70s may have created stars, but it also destroyed souls. And Bonnie Raitt, standing tall at 74, is finally shining a light on what really happened when the music stopped. Because the truth, as painful as it is, deserves to be heard.